So next we'll take a look at the templates API, and here is where we'll actually first start looking at the EHR Escape API also. So first let's go to our OpenEHR REST API under definitions template, that is the list templates, and just click on send and you'll get a list of all the templates that are there in the OpenEHR server. Now you can also upload your own templates. And you can also fetch the templates back as an OPT file, and you can just take this and put it in an OPT file and it will be a valid OPT file. Now OPT is just a type of XML. So let's actually upload our own template now. So I have been working with this template, so I'm just going to copy and paste this right here, and we get back a representation of the OPT right here. You can also fetch that OPT back if you give it the template ID. So now in the previous one, as soon as you upload, you will get the template ID in the E tag. So copy this and we'll paste it right here. You can also get the template ID by listing all of the templates that you have, and you can just get it like this also. So now there is also a concept and a template ID. The template ID is always the template ID. So always make sure you copy this and not the concept. And let's just put that in. I think we already did that. So now you can retrieve back the template. Now you can see that this XML file is actually really huge. It's thousands of lines long. In fact, if it's 2,400 something lines to just record something as simple as a medication list. So that's when the EHR Escape API actually makes sense. So EHR Escape is actually an alternative API standard on the exact same data structure as OpenEHR. Now, EHR Escape is not the official OpenEHR API, but it uses almost all of the same primitives, and it's just a different format to interact with OpenEHR. And most of the servers, including EHR Base, which is the open source implementation of OpenEHR, support the EHR Escape API. So it's important to understand the EHR Escape API and also know how to work with this. So now if we take a look at the EHR Escape website, so just I'm gonna Google EHR Escape. I think it's supposed to be pronounced just Airscape. These people just like to keep coming up with puns on EHR, Airscape. But anyway, under the API Explorer electronic health record APIs, you have quite a lot of APIs under this. So you see the archetype API, the demographics API, the composition API, and you also have something called the template API right here. And this is actually where the origin of the EHR Escape API is from. So we'll just take a look at few of those APIs. And again, if you want to see all of the APIs that EHR Base supports, you can always go to the Swagger UI. So EHR Base / Swagger UI. And this is the OpenEHR API. If you change it to EHR Escape API, you will get a Swagger UI of all of the EHR Escape APIs that are implemented. They haven't implemented all of it. So a clinical data repository like Better has all of this implemented because they came up with it. This is again by the Better platform. Now going back, the EHR Escape API actually offers an easier way to represent this template, and that's called the web template. So now you can get the XML also by saying OPT, but there is something called the web template that if you give it a template ID, and again, notice here that this is the EHR Escape base URL, and it is EHR base /rest /eSys /v1. So this eSys is different here. So in the OpenEHR API, that was OpenEHR /v1. So this is eSys. So again, they call it eSys because EtherSys, which was another open source clinical data repository on OpenEHR, also followed some of these APIs from AirScape. Now, let's get the JSON as a web template. Click on send, and you'll see that you get the template as a JSON file. Now, this JSON file is actually much more simplified than the XML. In fact, it's not a direct competition between the XML and the web template because the web template lacks a lot of details that the original OPT file has, and you cannot just take the web template and post it to a clinical data repository. You still need the OPT file, but the web template is easier for tools that use the template in order to render a form, for example. So when I was working on Medblocks UI, I was using web templates most of the time in order to understand what all elements are there in a template. So this is a simplified format that is also available to you, and you can also just take a look at this and understand what this format is. But on a high level, what actually happens is you have something called the web template here, and under the web template there is a tree, and under this tree structure there are other elements that keep going in recursively like a tree. Now they have an ID. All of them always have an ID. So this ID is usually unique. So when you start coming from the top to the bottom, you start having these IDs, and pay attention to these IDs because you will start using them when you create compositions. And so there is this thing called ID, and there is also, for example, min and max. So meaning how many times can this occur, how many times maximum can it occur, and you have all of those details along with the RM type. So we saw last time that in OpenEHR there is also something called the reference model, and this tells you what type of data that is expected in a particular place. So for example, here the RM type is DV coded text, so it expects certain things. And the same way here, the RM type is composition itself. So again, composition is also an RM type, and underneath that there are multiple other subtypes. So that's about the web template. Now I want you to upload the template that you created in the previous module. So you must have created multiple templates, or at least one template for the blood pressure and pulse. So take that template, name it whatever you want, and then upload it here. And you get only one chance because there is no way to delete the template. So that is also intentional, to be honest. So OpenEHR again understands that the data that you persist in a clinical data repository is for life. So the patient's data will be there for a lifetime. And when you create a form, when you create a specification for a template, you don't want to overwrite that, or you don't want to delete that. You want that to be permanent, and you can version it, of course. So that's why when we create a template, we usually put the V0 or V1 right in the template. So you create a template ID based on the version, but you cannot delete a template once it's created on the OpenEHR data repository. You cannot update it as well. So that's why we only have these three operations. You can only post a template, you can get the template back, and you can list the template, but you cannot update a template. So there are admin endpoints in EHR base during development which you can set, and you can technically delete some of it. So under the management API, again, they haven't documented this fully. Again, sorry, I think it's the admin API. Again, they haven't documented this, but there are ways to delete a template. But in almost all production scenarios, when you actually have a clinical data repository running for a hospital, you should never delete a template. A template is a permanent record of what you wanted to capture, and there may be compositions that may be using that template. So it's always good practice to version your templates and use proper semantic versioning. And so that's it. So your task will be to upload your template and make sure that you version it correctly and upload it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. This video was part of the OpenEHR course that's available on the Medblocks e-learning platform. I believe that the best way to learn a topic is to actually do it yourself and learn by doing it. So we have a lot of tasks for you in the course that we'll help you do, along with more video content just like this. And if you're interested in that, please do check it down in the link below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.